So there are two obvious ways to bring down your price on gold. Now, one, you can just buy the cheapest version you can find, or two, you can just buy a little bit less of it. Okay, so I've been talking a lot about lower premium government-backed coins lately. And the reason I'm doing that is that premiums are just so high, particularly on the coins that I typically go to for my first and second choice. And I've also mentioned the whole dollar cost average thing. Basically, I buy less when the prices are high. That keeps the average cost down. The basic idea here is that you can buy a little bit less of what you really want, or you can find a cheaper option. Now, I've picked up the half-ounce American Gold Eagle as my base purchase, thinking that if prices felt high, I wouldn't buy a full ounce. I'd just buy that half-ounce American Gold Eagle and call it good. And that's the first obvious way to avoid spending too much on gold when the price is too high. You just buy less of it. And in the case of buying fractional, I'm not giving up what I really want. The half-ounce American Gold Eagle is still my first choice. It's just a smaller version of it. I haven't stopped buying altogether, but the idea here is that I'm not going to mess up my average by buying too much when the price is too high. And too high to me doesn't mean overall price. It also means if I have a feeling that maybe the price is going to be lower in the following weeks or months. The problem right now is just the premiums. The premiums on my first choice right now, the American Gold Eagle, it's about double what they were a year ago. Fractional similar, but since fractional premiums were even higher to begin with, it's even more of an issue. So I'm always watching for deals, but what it comes down to right now is that I will buy less of what I want if I can't find that deal, or I'll drift off a bit and I'll buy something that just happens to be cheaper. And whatever I do, I really try not to drift too far from the things that I know I could pretty easily sell though. So when I can't find those deals on my primary choices, I'm going to do one of two things. I'm going to buy fractional or I'm going to buy foreign bullion. And I suppose I might do a third thing as well, and that would be just not buy anything at all, but that would make for a pretty boring video. Now, any video that I upload that mentions my preference on gold will get at least one gold is gold comment, probably more like 10. And that's true. Gold is gold, silver is silver, I don't know, knives are knives, cars are cars, houses are houses. But when you're spending around $2,000 for an ounce of gold, the choice of what gold you buy is going to be important to most people. And at some point, somebody's going to be selling it, and what you choose will impact that person at the time of the sale. Now, if that really wasn't an issue, I would purely go for some mix of what I like and what's cheap. But I've sold some gold before, and it did matter in every case that I did. But if there's somebody who's potentially going to be selling that gold as you, and you truly don't care what you're buying as long as it's shiny and yellow, then a lot of this isn't going to apply. It'll really just be the how much part for you. Now, most of us, though, we're never 100% sure which way to go, and that's why we read those reviews on cars or ask advice from a realtor on houses. There are reasons that certain options just simply cost more than others. Now, personally, I've always found that the fewer, nicer things approach leaves me with the fewest regrets. So I lean towards smaller purchases rather than drifting too far from my top choices. That's just one more reason that I bought those quarter-ounce American Gold Eagles over anything else for so many years. I knew they were going to be the easiest gold coin to sell here in the United States, so I'd never regret buying one. And I'd say that that's still pretty accurate even today. So even though I tend to show the bigger coins and in some cases some fancier coins on this channel simply because they're easier to video, the quarter-ounce American Gold Eagle is still the one that I'd recommend above just about anything else. And it depends, of course, on how high the premium is at the time. Now, that idea of buying the same thing over and over, I'm the first one to tell you that that can get boring over time. But this coin is the one that most people want, and that's going to be my biggest driver. Now, everyone's going to have a top choice, and for a lot of you, it's going to be different than me. And it's going to be based on wider popularity, so how easy it might be to sell if you ever did go to sell it, or just simply what you happen to like. Regardless of why you choose what you do, though, eventually you're going to run into a case of it costing more than you're comfortable with. Again, that's for everybody except the people who just really prefer the cheapest possible option. For the rest of us, we're talking about fractional or a cheaper option. So looking at cheaper options, I will never regret buying a Maple Leaf. Now, it's not my top choice, but it's not far from it. It comes with a little less premium than a US coin, so it's an easy compromise for me once in a while. Now, if I get too many, there might be an issue or two in the event of a sale, but overall, I'm never going to regret a one-off purchase of a Canadian maple leaf. So when premiums are too high on my first choice, my second choice, that's when I start looking at something like these maples. Premiums on maples, though, they're pretty high as well, so I'm further down the list. I might be fourth or fifth. I'm looking at Britannias. I'm even looking at kangaroos. The other way that I can go, though, is just to buy the smaller version of my first choice. Go fractional and get a half-ounce American Gold Eagle. Now, this is one of those over-analysis situations, and I don't lose a whole lot of sleep on this question. I have about 5 good options. My first 2 choices, if the price is right, that's the American Gold Eagle, the American Buffalo. Now, a 1-ounce Canadian maple leaf, that's a fine choice for me as well. Now, again, price has to be right. And then after that, I'm looking at a 1-ounce Britannia. And honestly, there are going to be a lot of coins that I would never regret buying. But if the goal is to get the price down rather than up, we're kind of limiting ourselves on what we can buy. There are fewer modern bullion coins that are going to be cheaper. All right, so that's 4. Basically, any of the fractional eagles, we'll call that 5. So half-ounce, quarter-ounce, whatever it is. And normally I'd actually say that those fractional sizes of my first choice, well, that's the best way to go. But again, I'm not going to regret any of those other coins that I just mentioned, not even a little bit. But it changes pretty quick after that, and there's a good chance that I'm going to regret the purchase down the road. If I buy something because it's cheaper, it won't take long for me to forget about the money that I saved to get it. And I don't know if this has ever been verified, but Ben Franklin said the bitterness of poor quality remains long after the sweetness of low price is forgotten. And if you spend any time working with retail, you're going to hear that a lot. Now, it's typically not a case of poor quality with gold, but you get the idea. When you buy something strictly on price, it's pretty common that you'll regret it somewhere down the road. Nobody's going to say that a 20 francs rooster is poorly crafted, but it's not as easy to move as an eagle. Same goes for gold bars. A Krugerrand, a kangaroo, a Philharmonic. I'm not going to regret buying those. I can drop a Krugerrand in a capsule and store it with everything else that I'm buying, and it's not going to be hard to sell down the road. But I have found that when I buy one of those older Krugerrands based on price, I'll get a few months out and then I'll wonder how much a dealer would charge me to swap it for an eagle. Now, it might seem a little bit dumb that I'd regret buying an old Krugerrand, but I doubt I'd be the only person questioning a purchase of nearly $2,000 for a scratched up foreign bullion coin that isn't particularly attractive, regardless of how well known it is, or how impressive Paul Kruger's beard is. And this should go without saying, but if you're happy with the gold bar or you're happy with those cool Krugerrands, I'd honestly really hate to think that you're sitting there thinking that I'm trying to tell you that you made a bad purchase, because that's not at all the case. That's not what I'm trying to do with this video. This is just meant for the person who isn't quite sure, the person who hasn't already decided that they're all in on gold bars or old European coins or Paul Kruger's neckbeard, whatever it is. Because I can tell you as someone who's wasted money in the past trying to undo some questionable purchases that if you're buying something that you don't really like or you aren't sure that you'll be able to easily sell it down the road, well, buyer's remorse can be a real thing. And Ben Franklin's mantra, again, if it really was Ben Franklin's mantra, well, it's pretty accurate. You're going to forget about the saved money pretty quickly. So just to recap here, I've never regretted buying a fractional American Gold Eagle. That is because the American Gold Eagle is my first choice. Now, if I wanted to spend a little bit less on gold in a month, those fractional options are fantastic. I've also never regretted buying something just slightly down the list from my top choices. That's like those maples, even the Britannias. But beyond that relatively tight circle, I have regretted buying things that I didn't really want just to save a buck. That's just something to consider if you're on the fence. So this is where you come in. Let us know what you think, what you're buying, and then whether or not you've bought something that you regret. Now, most of us have some kind of oddball in the collection. I still have a Cull Maple or a Cull Krug or two. They aren't my favorite. And if you're buying fractional right now because of the prices, let us know that too. And then while you're there, hit the like button if you find these videos interesting at all. That helps get the word out. I hope you're doing well. Thank you again for watching. I always appreciate your time. Take care.